I was visiting my friends at the ranch, and it was time to go home. I had a long drive back. It was a 10-hour drive home. I imagined finally getting home so I could relax, cook dinner, and take a hot bath. You always have to be alert when driving, especially in the winter, and here I was finally looking forward to a vacation. I didn't have to drive at night. I wasn't in a hurry to get anywhere. I had the option of going to a roadside hostel and sleeping until morning, but I wanted to get home sooner. It was evening. I was driving on an empty highway through a dense forest, with only the occasional car passing by. Suddenly, I saw a strange creature running along the road, on all its four legs like an animal, far ahead of me. I couldn't see what it was, but it was pale, almost white, so I thought it was a hare, but the animal was too big for a hare. I was curious. I pressed on the gas to catch up with the strange creature and get a closer look at it. I couldn't get close to it. It was running like a madman, and I only had time to see the powerful long legs and strong muscles. The animal was not covered with hair. Nothing like it is found in our forests. I had to assume that it was some bald monkey that had escaped from the zoo. The road was empty, and I allowed myself to speed up a little more. Only now the car started to catch up with the creature, but I couldn't get a good look at it. It skid off the road and disappeared into the woods. To hell with it, I thought. I had seen a lot of things in my life, so I easily put it out of my mind, slowed down, and concentrated on the road. As it got darker, I popped a couple plates of gum into my mouth. I always have a supply of gum on the road. It takes my mind off sleep when you are driving at night. I tried to turn on the radio, but all I heard was static. I thought the radio was malfunctioning. It's not like the radio can pick up any waves. Then I turned on the music that was recorded on a flash drive and drove without expecting any more adventures. On the rest of the way ahead of me, new eerie oddities awaited for me. The night was moonlit and the road was far visible. I noticed dark spots and glows of shapeless masses on the asphalt ahead. I drove slower, preparing to maneuver to avoid hitting what was lying on the road with my wheels. Even before I saw the shadow, I thought someone had hit a large animal. The stains looked like blood. Body parts and internal organs were lying around. I expected to see a deer or a boar, but it turned out to be a man, or rather what was left of him. I saw scattered arms and legs, a severed head, a torso divided into several parts. It was so unexpected and disgusting that my only thought was to get out of here so as not to see the whole nightmare. I drove on the mangled corpse, trying not to hit even the bloody puddles with my wheels, and pressed the gas pedal. The horrible sight stood before my eyes. Only after about 10 minutes, I decided to inform the police about what I had seen on the road. I picked up the phone, but there was no connection. Did it look like the aftermath of an accident? Would the man have been out on the road catching a hitchhiker? He might not have been seen, but how could you hit a man so hard that he was blown to bits? He's not a strong man. The driver could have hit him and fled the scene, but I didn't see any tire tracks on the pools of blood. Something didn't add up. There was no answer on my phone. I tried again to contact someone, but no result, just silence. I noticed the network was down, even when I called the emergency number. All I could hear was static. It's the first time I've ever had such difficulty with communications. No matter where I've been in the middle of nowhere, the emergency services always been on call. An empty, dark road, black forest on either side, me alone. God forbid anything should happen. I felt uneasy at the thought. When I saw the brightly colored sign up ahead, my heart calmed down a bit. A small gas station and a trucker's cafe seemed to be my salvation. I parked and walked into the cafe and said from the doorstep that I needed a phone. It's the kind of thing that happens in stupid horror movies when the hero gets in trouble. Behind the counter sat a guy about 20 years old. He seemed to me at once some kind of strange. His face was pale, his blue-colored lips were glimmering, and he looked at me with a blank stare. It seemed he was frozen. I thought that this poor fellow had been working outside for a long time, maybe taking someone in. It's often the case that small gas stations and cafes like this have one person working at a time. "Young man, can you hear me?" I said. "I need to make a phone call." The guy behind the counter finally answered. "What? You need to make a phone call?" The salesman was clearly out of it. "Look, is there anyone else here besides you?" I asked, figuring the guy wasn't sober. "Sorry, I'm the only one here. There's no one else." The guy didn't react to my emotions at all. It was like I was talking to a sleeper. I tried to get him to help me. "Look, I saw a dead body on the road. I can't get call service. Is there a landline here? I need to get in touch with someone so I can..." I got distracted and I looked down at the floor. It was covered in blood. There was blood and stains everywhere. "Do I have to give you a phone?" the young man said and put his hands on the bar. I could see that he was missing both hands, two bloody ripped hands, handing me wings. "Jesus, what's wrong with you?" I screamed in horror. "Why?" Answering, the guy looked first at one of his hands and then the other, and his gaze remained some blank and calm. "And how come I have no hands? Do you see that too?" He didn't scream or panic. He didn't express any emotion at all. I just froze, looking at him. I didn't know what to do or say. I think I remember. I didn't even know what it was. A monster. White. It had glowing eyes like two dots. It attacked me, rolling me on the floor. It's weird that I forgot about it. He must have chewed my arms off. Yes, he did. But then he got away. It happened so fast. I wonder why it didn't hurt me. The salesman was looking at his hands with interest, and I stood watching this nightmarish scene in a shock. "And I get it." The guy smiled broadly. "It's a dream. I'm dreaming. How do I wake up? I guess I need some air." The salesman rose from his chair and immediately fell to the floor. I still dared to look behind the counter. The guy was dead. He was lying with his mouth open. His eyes rolled back. The bottom of his shirt was up. His stomach was cut open. How did he just stay alive? How did he talk to me? And how did he not die of pain shock? It's like he was anesthetized. Who did this to him? I imagine a creature that when attacked would bite into its prey and inject its venomous teeth into the bloodstream with some kind of toxin that acts like anesthesia. Again, it was the crazy assumption. I couldn't find a landline. I couldn't count on cell phone service. It's like all the nearby towers were screwed up in those places. I decided it would be safer to get back in the car and drive on. I had to get to the people and tell them everything. I drove slowly. I didn't want to catch up with the monster, although I didn't know if it was still running ahead or if it was lurking somewhere in the wood. I breathed deeply. Sometimes I let go of the steering wheel and grab my hat. What's going on? I hadn't seen a single oncoming car in an hour. I started to feel like the rest of the world disappeared. Just me, an empty highway, and a horrible monster on the road. I thought I wouldn't be able to sleep, but the straight, identical road began to tire me out. My eyes closed. The gum didn't help, and the music only made me nervous. I pulled over to the side of the road. If I felt sleepy, I'd better sleep, and sleep was supposed to calm my nerves and add strength. If I turned off the engine and turned off the headlights, I wouldn't attract attention. Stopping in the middle of nowhere seemed like a wise decision, so I lay down in the back seat and fell asleep almost immediately. It was a disturbing dream, dreaming of everything I'd seen in the last hours. The running thing, the scattered body parts, the guy with no arms, and the cafeteria counter. It was a horrible dream. I woke up with a dry throat and a sore head. It was still just as dark outside. It felt like the time had stopped and dawn would never come. I thought of going out, but when I opened the door, I saw the same creature. It was it. A creature on all fours, eyes like two glowing dots, was looking at me. It saw me. Whether I saw it or not, I didn't want to check. I jumped behind the wheel, turned the ignition key. The car wouldn't start the first time. There was a loud bang on the door, and I jerked my whole body, tried to start the car again. There was another thump on the door, and the car rocked. This monster would break the door or certainly break the glass in the one below. I jerked the key. Finally, the car started and I drove off. I had to accelerate soon. It could tear up the tires, flip the car over. I begged, please hurry. The roar of the engine seemed to scare off the creature. The banging on the door stopped. The car gradually picked up speed. My palms were soaked with sweat and sliding on the steering wheel. I looked out the window. It was running beside me. In the panic, I grabbed my phone, called the emergency services, and started screaming, "Help! I'm being attacked! They're trying to kill me! Somebody help me!" There were faint noises, and it sounded like someone was repeating my words in the background. "Help! Help! Help! Somebody help!" It wasn't my voice. It was low like an animal crow, as if this creature was reacting to the silence by repeating them. I dropped the phone. That voice made me feel like the monster had already infiltrated my car. I had to take a risk to pull away. I was driving at top speed. The car was shaking. It was dangerous. I could skid, and if there was a curve in the way, I would definitely feel over. I managed to pull away and kept my eyes on the road. It was beginning to get light. Outskirts and houses of a familiar village. It seemed to me that everything would be all right now. The connection appeared again, and I didn't inform anyone about anything. There was no more trance. At 6 a.m., I arrived at the house. I couldn't get over the nightmare. A neighbor who was walking his dog saw me in such a state and offered to help me. I didn't tell him what happened to me during the night. No one would believe me. The neighbor looked at me with suspicion and said, "There are rumors that on the forest road is now working a whole special team. I heard that there was a maniac working there at night. Some chopped a man to pieces, killed a gas station attendant, and some other tourist in the woods." I stood silent, pretending that none of this applied to me. I didn't want to get involved. The whole thing was too unreal. My car door was badly cramped, scratched. I went home. The hot bath didn't bring me any pleasure. I didn't cook. I had no appetite at all. But at least I got some sleep. I slept until into the evening. There was nothing in the news about the incidents on the forest highway. No mention of corpse. Had they decided to keep the whole thing a secret? I finished watching the news and went out to the balcony. I had to forget about last night. What was the point of remembering it? I'm sure I forget everything. It's unlikely it will ever happen again. I thought again, sitting in the balcony, and these thoughts calmed me down until I came across this monster. Opposite my house, there is a small park where they walk dogs. There, in the bushes, lurked this scum. How could it be in front of my house? Did it come after me? Why is it following me? I crouched down. I didn't want it to see me, but I guess I was too late. In the last second, the thing stared at me. It can't be. There's so many houses, so many windows. How could this thing have seen me? I was about to call for help several times, but something stopped me. They wouldn't believe me. I hoped the monster would get away from my house. As I watched it, it became clear to me that the pale creature was not going to attack people. It was hiding from them, hiding in the bushes, hiding on the cars. It doesn't want people to notice it. It's no coincidence that the monster is messing up with communications. I was the last survivor to see it. It came after me when it was dark. I think it waited until nightfall to get closer to the house. I decided to call the police. I wanted to tell them I was being hunted by a maniac. I didn't have to tell them the killer wasn't a human being. I was too late for that thought. The connection was down again. I locked the door. I knew it wouldn't help. I listened to every rustle in the entryway. I think I heard something, strange noises up the stairs, so I decided to make this tape recorder. I heard fast footsteps again, like someone running up the stairs. I know it's going to break the door down. It's not like I'm crazy, it's all for real. The monster's running up and down the floors, looking for my apartment. Or maybe it's even can hear my thoughts. I'm scared. I don't want to be torn alive or left to die slowly like that guy in cafeteria. I can't defend myself, but I'm not going to let myself get killed. I'm going to walk out of the apartment, not through the door, and hopefully someone will listen to this tape and find out what happened to me. You know, I didn't mean for this to happen.
A woman was injured after jumping from an apartment window on the 1500 block of North 52nd Street.